Det var det første som ble sagt.
Hei og velkommen til bioSEMINAR. Jeg er veldig glad for at dere har kommet i dag. Vi er kjempeglad for å ha Anne-Katrine Faber her for å snakke om noen spennende prosjekter. Vi kommer til å snakke litt, og så er det åpent for spørsmål etterpå. Og vi kommer å sende live til Svalbard, for vi har kollegaer på Svalbard som har lyst til å følge med på denne talken. Så det er derfor vi har styret litt med teknikk. Men nå er det i gang. Ja, velkommen til oss.
Tusen takk. Jeg skal ikke få den ja, bra. So I'm going to do this talk in English because I prepared it in English and because I'm also Danish and because it was just easy for everyone. Not pretend to speak Norwegian. So the reason for why I'm giving this talk is that I, some month ago, talked to Jonathan at the ISOP meeting and realized that some of the experiences that we are doing in the Bjarne Center and in the GEO department are something that might be beneficial to some of the projects teaching related or outreach related that you are doing. So I work as a researcher at Institute for or Department of Earth Science, the Bjarne Center for Climate Research, but I have also always liked to do outreach a lot, so I do that as much on the side as I have time to do. And currently a lot. So I'm going to talk about IGLO, a project for building online resources for teaching, and SciSnacks, which is a project where we do writing training for early career scientists together with other peers. So I will talk about the portal IGLO and present the way in which we present teaching resources online for high school teachers. And then I'll talk about the motivation, particular challenges by implementing research and teaching, project details, including the web platform IGLO itself, and also how we present the life of young researchers using Instagram. And also talk a little bit about how we measure success of the project. And then afterwards, I will talk about the concept SciSnack, writing training with peers. I'll tell you about the background, the SciSnack method, the way in which we use paragraph structure to train our communication, and how we can have this application for writing and research training. So, myself, I am an ice core researcher, educated in physics and climate science in Copenhagen, and I'm employed in this project called Ice to Ice, which is a big ERC synergy grant. And within that grant, we were supposed to do some effort to do teaching or outreach. And we were a bunch of people that got together and decided, let's do some outreach and let's present teaching material for high school level. And then we made the case that we had an impression that a lot of people were interested in the Arctic, sea ice changes, Greenland ice sheet melting, and so on. So we wanted to use the focus on the Arctic as our project is focused on too, and then to use that to exemplify how climate researchers work and how the method of researchers are. So this was sort of our approach to do that. But the good thing about doing it right now is that this is news from Danish newspaper articles, but this is the same if you go to Norway too, is that when we tried to do outreach maybe 5-10 years ago, there was a limited amount of people that were interested in our research necessarily because we were sort of pushing it their way, but now it's a little bit opposite. And because of all these news, this means that the teachers are requesting for more knowledge about climate change in the Arctic, so we might as well have something good to provide them with. And there exists a lot of other teaching material already. Within this is some Danish textbook material, and within Scandinavian languages there are quite a lot of Arctic climate change teaching material already. And I'm just going to present to you briefly what exists and then how we wanted to do a different approach. There is also an online portal where you can go and check weather conditions in the Arctic, see how sea ice is right now, how the weather is in the Arctic right now. And in Norwegian, especially from the Bjarne Center, we have a lot of really good outreach material. I would like to highlight this thing called Data, where this is developed by Helge Drange and Munvik, where they have a lot of real data and a measurement station in Storlungebosvatnet that students can extract data and play real researchers and analyze the data. Then we have Climate Snack, which I'm going to talk to you more about in a second, and SciSnack. And we also have a thing, Tursport, which is not so good in Denmark as it is in Norway, where you go out in the nature and observe nature and talk about the processes that cause these changes in nature. But a challenge here is that even though we have so many different types of material, types of outreach, it can be difficult for the teachers to navigate in this, to navigate what's updated, and to figure out how that matches their teaching. So we met up with teachers from Norway and Denmark, and then we asked them specifically, what is it that you need? How can we come up with teaching material that is different from the one we have already? And what I learned, which maybe makes a lot of sense if you're a high school teacher, but if you're a researcher, you might not have thought so much about it, at least I hadn't, was how much there is focus on læreplaner, the teaching plans in high school, and how much you're really supposed to strictly follow these teaching plans. So we summarized a little bit of the things that we wanted to do better, and the things at least the teachers requested, which is material updated to climate science knowledge 2018 or 19, you could say now, matching the right level of difficulty. It needed to be suitable for the læreplans mode in the high school subjects, and a need for interactive animations and all sort of non-textbook material that is available these days. And also there was a request for the teachers to build their own teaching, so that we did not give them a way in which they should teach a subject, but they can take bits and pieces together their way. So this is what we learned, and you can say, if we don't follow up on these requests, the worst case scenario is that we produce some sort of teaching material that is not being used by the teachers anyway. So this is what we learned from that. And the way that we then decided to do it was to construct an online web portal where we don't produce any new material, but we just take material like I just presented to you from Denmark, Norway, and also high quality material from, for example, NASA, and then we present it on a web portal. And then it's sort of a platform where all these online resources are available, and you can build your own teaching about the Arctic. That's why we call it ECLO. So we started doing this, and luckily we got so good feedback that we decided to put in a proposal in NFR Klimaforsk call to get more money to investigate this, and we were lucky enough to get that money. So how we are now moving forward with this is that we are focusing more on Norwegian only and not just the Danish. And then we're trying to promote the knowledge of climate scientists to students in high school. And you can look at it sort of in this way, that you have 3 levels. You have the climate scientists here, we have the teachers, and we have the students in high school. And if you need to set knowledge about Arctic climate change, it needs to go through the teachers. So our way of targeting the students in high school is not by targeting the students themselves, but by targeting the teachers and make it more easy for teachers to take that knowledge that we have from climate research and put it into the teaching. This is not in any way something that replaces normal textbook material, but it's meant as a supplement to make it easier to take some of the knowledge from research and put it into teaching. And the material that we have available on the Danish platform, and a lot more is coming on the Norwegian platform in the coming months, is a lot of different resources that is both videos, text, exercises, animations, figures, interactive simulations, and podcasts, all the different ways in which you can take that and use it in your teaching. Then critics might say that this is a way to promote all the outreach material, but that might not necessarily be a good way and an easy way for the teachers to take that resources and directly implement them in the teaching. So it's a step of building bridges, but it's not, you cannot use that and then go straight and use it in the classroom. It's not plug and play. But what we try to do is that we aim to make it easier for the teachers to navigate in the material that we have already, and make sure that the material that we present is high quality and trustworthy. We do it that when you log into the web page, you can see different sort of subjects in the menu, and you can browse through these, and then you can explore material better. And for example, if you want to know more about how sea ice is melting, you can either go into subjects and select material related to the subject that you're teaching, or you can go into themes and do the same and then select sea ice as melting. So I'm going to show you the webpage a little bit later when I'm done, just so that we can explore it more together. But the point is that you log into this and then you can see all sort of material relevant for you. And we are currently working on a way in which to connect this tighter to the teaching plans for students, so that it's easier for the teachers to see how that fits into their own classes. In addition, there was a high request to promote knowledge about how polar researchers work. So what we did in addition was that we created an Instagram profile, and it's very much like work in progress. We see how it goes and we just try it to see how it works. But each week, a new polar researcher takes over the profile for a week. I'm not in control of anything, I just plan the schedule. And then they tell about their PhD work or their postdoc work in a week in different posts. And here you see Morgan writing some text and telling about ocean gliders. You see Eva doing analysis of sediment cores, or you see Carl taking pieces of rock in order to explore different ways of climate change. And we've also taken some of the best of these and put it into the webpage so that we ensure sustainability in that way, that you can also log in there and read about how polar researchers work. And the good thing about doing it this way is that this also gives sort of immediate feedback to the young students, and they get likes, and you can see whether people like their post or not. So this is not proper feedback as we do it in teaching, but they get some response and they get training in how to communicate their science. And some people say, is it really worth it? Is the platform good enough? I think that what we have learned is that for at least some people, pictures say more than 1,000 words, that if you select the right pictures, you attract maybe a new kind of people that otherwise might not be so interested in science. And I got invited to give a speech at the National Library in Oslo to talk about how we use pictures to promote science and sustainable world. And overall, people have shown high interest in this approach. And we see that our followers are growing and people seem interested. So we're happy about that. And so the way that we measure the success of this project at this stage is mainly just to ensure visibility. You could go more into like, does it really work or not? But this is not where we're at this stage. We're just, as long as people know about this and we get some knowledge out that would otherwise not be put out, then we are at this stage happy. And we see that we have quite a lot of users, mainly from the Danish web portal, and overall we see that it's growing. And a thing that I'm particularly happy about is that if we look into the details of our web analytics, we can see that we also this way target schools that are not necessarily located right next to a university. So that means that we get pass this knowledge on to a lot of schools that might otherwise not have heard about this or got research visitors. Yeah. But then I will also talk about SciSnack, improving science writing together through peer learning. So this is, SciSnack is something that we do at GFI and Bjerknes in order to train researchers, young researchers, to do better writing. And we are, this was initiated by Matthew Larive about maybe 5 years ago, where he himself wanted to be better in writing, realized he was relatively poor in writing, and he started up this writing group that then grew over the years, is now well established, and we call ourselves the SciSnack team, and now we are a group of four leaders that share this together. We are mainly Bjerknes Center based, and earlier on there have also been subgroups at different locations around Europe, but what tends to happen is that when people, the driving force finish their PhD or whatever, then the group dies out. So currently we are only Bjerknes, but we are working really intense to promote it more in Norway with CHESS, the climate research school, in the coming years. So what is it? The purpose is that we wanted to improve our general writing skills. This is a voluntary task. We get together every third Friday, and then we meet up and we have writing training with peers following the SciSnack method, which I will tell you more about in a second. This is not in any way rocket science, but just, it is just a way in which we formulated how to become better in writing, and we've learned that by doing it this way, we see that we improve our writing, and I think you can do it in many other ways, but this works for us, and maybe this can inspire you. And what we do is that we have this goal to produce short, maybe around 1-page climate snacks, like brief text about a particular relevant subject, but that can be any sort of science subject. And we meet, as I said, every 3 weeks, and everyone can attend, but it's mainly young scientists at PhD or postdoc level. And the way it would work is this process here, which I will come back to. So the stories are then published on our webpage, scisnac.com. So everyone that writes a story, when we are done and accepted all of us, then we post it online on this webpage. And if you're interested, you can also press this page Learn Here, and there will be a lot more tips about writing classes for how to improve your writing. So I can really recommend that for all of you, no matter whether you're interested in SciSnack itself or just want to improve your writing skills on your own. And the way in which we use this SciSnack method is that we first get together in a meeting and we talk about an idea for a structure. Like, so I say I would like to write about my PhD topic or my whatever research topic I'm working on, and then we discuss how this could be a story, and then I get back again, and I then start working on my own and figure out how to make a nice story structure for this. And I'll get back to the structure in a second. So then I meet up with all the people again, and then I present my structure, and then they give me feedback and tell me whether this is good enough or not, how I can improve it. Then I go back, and then I start with the structure, and then I write it into a full text. So not just keywords, but actually a full text. And then I go back again. I present it, and in particular, I always read it out loud, because this way it's way clearer when there are texts that is somehow not working well. And then I make final changes to the snack, and then publish it on the webpage. And a way in which people over the years, this is before my time here in Norway, but have found that this works is by using this what we call the feedback funnel. So that we start each sort of feedback, no matter it's a full text or a paragraph, we start by focusing on organization only, so people can only comment on organization. Then they move to paragraph structure, then they move to sentences, and then they move to things like words, punctuation, grammar, etc. And this way we avoid getting stuck in somebody that is really intense about the grammar if the structure is really not good enough. So we can take it step by step and improve the manuscript. And if you want to know more about this, I recommend that you go to this this manuscript that was published some years ago, where these figures and the entire method is written. So why is it that I personally find this approach useful? I think it's about breaking task of writing a small outreach article, but it can be any sort of writing, essentially, by breaking down into smaller tasks and learning that you can always manage the next small task. So you present ideas, then you write your structure, and you go back, and then you get feedback. So it's a very little task, and you get the feedback, and you're encouraged to move on, and that way you actually manage to do that and feel happy about the process. In particular, I'm quite excited about the idea which is creating a text structure and train your mind into create a structure in which you tell a story. And I'm going to show you some more examples of how we can use that for writing in itself, but also for a lot of other communication things or research training. So before we move on to next, I would like you to just use 2 minutes to summarize a research topic in an interesting way. That could be your PhD project or anything. You don't have to say it out loud, but just think about if you were to write a text about this as SciSnack, how would you do it? And then I can show you a method for how we can do it more efficiently in a second. So just think for 2 minutes and that's it. That is correct. If you write a manuscript, But if you write what we call the SciSnack, like if you write any sort of outreach, then within that you would have a structure in which how you would explain it. And also, let's say, given your manuscript, the way that you structure the different parts of the introduction is not given in itself. That is up to you to decide how you would do it. All right. Have you thought about this? So, and again, this is really not, it's not because this is rocket science, but it's just, personally, this has helped me in order to train the way that I organize and structure any sort of story that I'm telling, and I know that for everybody that's been involved in SciSnack, they feel the same way. So this example I'm going to give you is something, we used this to train students in, we had a course in Greenland, and then we presented different, they were trained in order to do it. So the story that I'll tell you now is about glacier safety training in Greenland. So the first way in which I would structure this story is to have introduction, why glaciers are dangerous, how you can be safe on a glacier, and we are working on a glacier, and therefore it makes sense that we learn glacier safety at this course. This is the story that I would like to tell. It's a basic and boring story, but it works for this case here. So this is my first approach. So I organized basically what is it that I'm going to tell. The next step is then to clarify this by having topic sentences. And if you have any sort of writing courses, academic writing courses, you might have heard about this. But then the key topic, I summarize a key topic for each of these sub-parts of my story, which is accidents can happen. This is the key for my introduction. Topic sentence for the next is glaciers have deep crevasses where you can fall in and not get out. Oh, nice. How can you be safe in the glacier? Well, equipment and safety can help you get out of the glacier. We are working on a glacier. It makes sense that we learn glacier safety. We learn glacier safety here at our course Ice Disc. All right, so far so good. But if we then add stress sentences too, we can make sure that the flow of this text gets even better. So we have the topic introduction and the topic sentence for this introduction now. But at the end of our topic set, or at the end of our introduction, we somehow, the key point we want to make is that most accidents are related to crevasses. Why are glaciers dangerous? Well, it's because glaciers have deep crevasses where you can fall in and not get out, and therefore it is important to know how to get out of a crevasse. Equipment and safety can help you get out, and therefore better safe than sorry, you can say. And in that way, we have, by just following this simple approach to having a structure, we have, have some tools in order to make this story work there. And the reason why I talked to Jonathan about this at ISETL was that you here at Bio do different sort of courses where you also want to train students in research skills. And like I said, we used that in a course in Greenland last spring, where it was a PhD course where they were trained in different sort of fieldwork and research skills, and they had their own research project that they're working on. And here we use this method and the story that I just presented to make them present their own story about why their research project was important and train them in better communication and writing skills. This is also something that has been beneficial for people doing manuscripts. So Matthew Stillery, who started SciSnack initially, he last year published a piece in Nature on how to write a thorough peer review. So he used all the SciSnack methods and then wrote a really nice piece about how to do a proper scientific peer review and how to follow a structure which make it easier. And I can really highly recommend that you go and check this piece out. And also something that you might have noticed, might not have noticed, is that when I prepared this presentation, I structured it in a similar way with topic sentences and stress sentences. So you maybe can see that from all the subtitles and titles that I tried to make this structure clear with topic sentences and stress sentences. So just to summarize my talk, I presented some tools for how to do the webpage Igloo and present resources online. I'm going to show you the webpage in a second. And I also have presented how to do SciSnack, or how we do it in Yagnus, to train student writing with peers. And I'm going to show you the webpage in a second, and if you are any way interested in contributing to SciSnack, either by starting your own co-period bio or by joining some of the work that we are doing at GFI, you're more than welcome to contact me. And also, if you want any sort of input for how to implement that in teaching, you're also welcome to contact me. And this is the information here. And I'm just going to show you the webpage, and then we can take questions afterwards. So the webpage is let me see how I can. This is sort of also a different step, that we start by having a webpage that works, and then we have some people that will go into this in more details afterwards. Let me see. How is, yeah. So here you can select, for instance, a theme. And if you select, you want to know more about global warming, you press global warming, and then all related material that we have found that is relevant for learning about global warming is then available here, and you can see each of them presented with titles, with different types of material, let's say data or interactive animations, and with different categories matching the different themes. So here you can see related material, and we have done it in a way so all of it is not available here, but we, for instance, let's say we press this one, and then there is a description of what is available, and then you press to this link in order to get the update. And this way we ensure some sort of sustainability, that it's not that all the links will become dead and not updated. Yeah. And we can do that for a lot of different things. Global warming, greenhouse gases, green and ice sheet is melting, sea level rise, and so on. And let me show you one more example. So in this way, if I want to find all other animations, I can press here, and then I can see all other animations that is available throughout these resources, and I can find them here. And this is just done using University WordPress, so it's relatively simple to get started. In addition, we have the Norwegian page, which is being developed, but we have this new thing, which is follow young researchers. So here you see Silje, who is a glaciologist at University of Bergen, and she wrote a story connected to the different pictures on her work, telling more about what she's doing, how she's investigating geothermal heat in Greenland and how it influences the melt. And so all the text that she posted is, there's pretty animations here, but all the text that she posted is available. And I think this is a really good way in order to train young researchers to communicate the research, and they have all been pretty happy about this opportunity now. All right, that is all. I would like to thank you for your attention, and let me know if you have any questions. No questions? Yeah?
It's quite a nice amount of work. It must be quite a lot of time to, well, for example, the portal for teaching material. It's a lot of sources, it's a lot of different materials, and I guess you have to quality control contents all the time. And I guess you also receive contributions from teachers who tell you, okay, this is quite interesting, this page or this material, so I would like you to have it made available to all. So, how many positions do you have to cover?
Yeah, it takes some time. I think we just try to keep, like, we have all these available in a Google spreadsheet for us, and we put it in whenever. And I think what is relevant is that, you know, you need to quality check it, but you also know overall that data from Lisa is good, and that you know that already. So when you're within the field, it's not that difficult to check what is actually good. It's more, I think the difficult part is connecting it in a way in which teachers can make it useful. And this is where I mean, this makes sense, but there is a big step from presenting material, like an interesting animation, and then have it be useful in teaching and something that the students can actually learn from. and we are finding out balance in what we're going to do in this project and what our task and to do it best for you.
This is essentially for high school students. But I see very little difference, well, relatively little difference between high school students and first to second year students at the university. So in a way, while broadening the scope and making it available to courses.
Yeah, but I think you can put it in this way and say everybody is free to use it. We've just targeted high school to have a clear target group. But it's everybody that can log on to the webpage can use all of this. And we're just working on making, especially the Norwegian one, more connected to the teaching itself. And it's in Norwegian because that is a demand from the funding agencies.
Do you know if people are using it?
We can see, like I said, with the stats.
Yes, you have some stats, but so who are those? Are they sort of it's the students who are just moving around, or do you know that teachers are actually doing it these days?
I don't have a great check of that, and but we can see that we have visitors, and sometimes we can see that looks like entire school from the same region comes in there. And I think what we do with these numbers is that in order to go out, one researcher would go out and visit a school, we target different group, and it's not the only approach, but we get someone and make it available, like at least an overview that is not existing. And we do have a way in which to test whether people are.
I have no idea.
I think maybe it takes time and like over years and figuring out whether you get feedback from people that have been happy about it. But I know that, so we're doing this in collaboration with Ectodata, Morgan Mulvik and Helge Drange, who are doing special efforts on local schools here, especially Mikkelskam school, and we are connecting it with them, so we want to make these two resources connected, so we hopefully the users that visit Ectodata will visit us and so on.
Sounds like
Yeah.
does it function like a student journal, or is it what kind of materials?
So everything that's available is, I can go to the webpage too. So the key is that you can write popular science articles about whatever you like. So it's not a journal in itself, you can say, because there is no demand for analysis or whatever. It's just you telling a story about whatever. For instance, let's see.
There's an element of peer review.
So the peer review in that sense is not necessarily peer review, but it's more peer learning or writing with peer. So you get the peer is that you present your work throughout before you actually publish it, and then you get feedback in each of these different steps. So when I present my structure, then people will say, this is not really good, can you maybe do it better this way, or this would be more interesting. So it's peer review before it's done, we will say.
You the editor, or?
No, and the key is that nobody is the editor, that the group itself is the editor. So whenever we decide it's ready, it's ready.
So is this, who would you encourage to submit pieces?
PhD students, people that are trying to write and are starting to write academically for the first time, and maybe not trained, way better in doing data analysis than writing, and then training how to do it with people that are at the same level.
Is it accepted as part of that public outreach element?
At a current level, I think it's only voluntary basis, and people have also used it in order to get help with writing introductions and so on. And I think they are working with Jess in order to get some credits for it, but I'm not entirely updated on this.
It's mostly for PhD students, but would you like also to have master students writing?
Master students are encouraged to attempt to. So it's basically everybody that are interested. And the key is you don't have to be either good or bad, you just come in with whatever you know already, and then help each other out.
Basically, for the first communication and outreach, you just come and get some training and
Yep, and you also don't have to be at all, if you're just really bad in writing and need help, you can come as well. And some people come in, write one snack, and some people have joined for the entire PhD. It's different in every way. And if you would like to see how it works, you know.
It says groups there, so there's several groups doing that like that.
Let me see.
Is it?
There were several groups. Currently, we are. Yeah, so climate snack writing groups I've published in the past 6 months is only in the Bjerknes Center, but there were several groups with people that moved to different places and started up their own group, but after they finished their PhD, it somehow died out. Yeah. But we are, as I said, trying to make a group starting in Tromsø and Oslo too, as part of the chess PhD school.
That means in principle, bio could start its own group
Yes.
that contributes.
Yes, and we have tools in which you can get started, and we can send the person who will get started to.
What's your availability for the students who need some who want to come and get some feedback? Do you, when you're basically a smaller room or a smaller group room for 2 hours and you receive everybody? What's more like a one-to-one
Feedback related to which?
to writing? If when someone who's writing something comes with an updated version of an article,
Then the key is that it's all about these. I think maybe I didn't make that. Let me see clear enough. So the key is it's all about these meetings. So we meet every 3 weeks, and each time different students are in different parts of this process. So maybe somebody, when we have this meeting, are just thinking about an idea for the next snack. Maybe somebody else are at this phase and need feedback for the first paragraph structure, and somebody have written their final article and need feedback on the text itself. And we try to have different levels of each meeting so that we have things to do. And so the key is also, it's not something that takes a lot of time. You show up every, let's say, 3 weeks, and if you don't have time that third week, it's fine. You just come whenever you have time, and then you present whatever you have ready. And
And the feedback is happening right there, not like in the next meeting.
no,
But it
the
happens
feedback
in
you
that
get is
meeting.
straight away. Yeah.
And between the meetings, you work on your own stuff and then.
And I think the key is that the step between, the time spent between each of these steps are so relatively small that you can manage to make it, to do it, even though you also obviously have teaching and research obligations to do. But by breaking it down into tasks that are doable so that you actually end up with a piece.
do you have any research on how fast they tend to improve with students?
How fast, but
They improve in terms of writing. If they really come with almost no very basic skills in writing, and suddenly
so
after 3 months of help, they really like more confident or more skilled at structuring.
So I can say, like Matthew, that used to be the leader of this group, he used to say that he was really bad at writing and got really, poor reviews for his first paper. And now he get comments that that the text is well written. And this is what he says and writes about his own writing style and how you would. I think it depends from people to people and which level they are already. But overall, if people come back, I think they're happy. And